It's my job on this expedition to try and find any evidence, dead or alive, to the existence of this mythical creature.
Accompanying him is Sarah Seymour.
There goes tiger one. What about this one?
Sarah knows how to recognise the telltale signs of ape habits, habitats and diet.
You look out there and you see all this forest and you can believe that there might be something there. But whether it's a large ape, that remains to be seen.
Natural history cameraman Ted Giffords will make remote recordings triggered by specially developed heat and movement sensors.
I'm here to play with toys, including the camera traps.
Richard Conniff, science writer and skeptic, is here to sort fact from fantasy.
I think the Yeti's a fiction, but it's a compelling fiction. Compelling here in Bhutan because people still know how terrifying it is to be alone in the dark, in a remote place, among wild animals.
Unlike Westerners, Bhutanese firmly believe in the existence of the Yeti. But until now, no expedition has returned with hard evidence.
Mission accomplished.
A vital fifth member of the team is a world pioneer in the identification of DNA. Professor Brian Sykes was the first geneticist to extract DNA from archaeological bones. He will examine any samples that the team bring back.
Morning.
DNA would be able to tell us were we able to get a sample from the Yeti, whether it was human, whether it was a primate, whether it was a new species possibly, or whether it was a bear or something else like that. Absolutely the ideal tool, and it's never been done before, so I leapt at the opportunity.
The opportunity for scientific scrutiny duly arose. Out of Bhutan emerged a sample from a skin said to be that of a Yeti. Professor Sykes sequenced the DNA of its hair. He was able to pin down its true origin.
If we're talking about that skin, then it's a kind of bear. Nonetheless, the sequence from that skin has never been seen before. That's not to say I couldn't tell from the sequence whether it's a particularly big or tall or fierce brown bear, but it wasn't the usual kind of brown bear. It may even be a special subspecies.
So, the Migure, the Bhutanese Yeti, could be a previously unknown bear. Bhutan's capital, Thimphu. The expedition rendezvous with its last member, Dasho Palden Dorji, is one of the royal family. He is convinced of the Wildman's existence.
Personally, I'm a very strong believer in the Migure. I know that there is something there. That would be very consistent with most Bhutanese, how most Bhutanese believe or think about the Yeti or Migure. It is there. Whether we get it on film or we don't, that's up to the gods, but I firmly believe that there is something out there.
Dasho Palden will introduce the expedition to such evidence as exists.
Well, these are the plasticasts I was going to show you. The four on your left are of what we believe is a Michum, which is a smaller type of Migure.
Rob, how do these compare to the bear prints you looked at?
Well, it's interesting because certainly this tapering part to the heel here is quite characteristic of the rear print of a bear.
It's interesting, they've only got the four toes in all of them there.
So what's that consistent with?
A four-toed mystery creature. Yeah, no. Usually all the pads will show up, even in bear prints, all the pads will show. But I mean, these are so consistently four.
I have one comment, not as a biologist, but as a journalist and a skeptic, and that is that if you want to establish the existence of a new species, you need better evidence. Habeas corpus applies. You need to show me the body.
Seeing is believing. The high-tech camera traps are Ted's department.
I normally do natural history filming, which means spending a lot of time sitting in trees. So it's yes, it's a strange dog because normally it's heavily researched and you know exactly what you're looking for and what it does and where it is and when it does it. So this is a very different type of job.
While Ted prepares to journey into the unknown, Dick, the writer, investigates one of the earliest references to the Migure. It comes from an 18th century Bhutanese document quoting a much earlier 8th century medical text.
Yes, here is the Nyentu Nepi Domrik means a kind of a bear who lives in the thick mountains.
Some people think that the Migure really is a bear.
It's a kind of a bear. Just for example, we say Coca-Cola is a kind of a soft drink. It covers a very wide range.
The presence of a bear can be established beyond doubt by DNA, but only an eyewitness can say what it looks like. Dawn in a small village. A traditional exorcism. Buddhist ghostbusters are driving evil demons out of a farmhouse. Dick has come to question Dorje Shering, the head of the household, now in his 80s. 50 years ago, he worked as a carpenter to the Bhutanese Queen Mother. One day, he and a friend made their way to a distant forest. The path lay through a forbidding valley, Migure Shiteksa, the place where the Yeti scratches for lice. They had come to collect wood, and they felled several trees, pausing to chop them into manageable lengths. The task took longer than expected. Unable to get back in daylight, they sought shelter in a nearby cave. Bandits once used the area. It was known locally as the Thieves' Cave. As they settled down for the night, in the jungle around them, bamboo began to shatter and snap. Out of the darkness, they heard a strange call. Beyond the firelight, Dorje made out a shape moving on two legs, the size of a man, dark and hairy, its face indistinct. The two men clutched their axes. Dorje was in no doubt. It was the Migure.
And he says he thought like Ramig is going to eat them up.
All night, the Migure howled around their campsite. By dawn, the pair decided to rain rocks on the Migure and make a run for it. Dorje's encounter was at night and in darkness, but of one thing he is absolutely certain. The creature that circled the cave was no bear, and allows the first glimpse of the vast wilderness beyond.
Well, the thing that strikes me straight away is the amount of forest and mountain that there is here, for a start. It's possible, I suppose, that something could be in one of these valleys. Looking at it from here, you could easily believe that. It looks so remote. But exactly what that something is, I'm not entirely sure.
Dick questions another eyewitness. This man's close encounter with the Migure occurred in broad daylight. Druk Sherik Tenzin served in the Royal Guard. He has seen many bears. He is in no doubt what he met. I was walking home on leave, and I didn't expect to meet anything unusual. On a pass, I saw strange footprints in the snow, and I heard noises. Suddenly, I saw a creature like an ape. For 2 or 3 minutes, we stood opposite each other. It was huge. It must have been 9 feet tall. The arms were enormous and very hairy. The face was red, with a nose like a chimpanzee's. He looked something between a monkey and a human. I have heard people in Western countries only believe in what they see. I have seen the Magyar. It's real. Bhutan is one of the last unexplored areas of the world. It ranges from alpine peaks to temperate forests and tropical valleys. At an outlying castle, the team have an appointment with the governor. He knows exactly where to find a Magyar.
Well, we're on our way to see the Zongda of Wangdi Phadrang.
Are you sure that's right?
I'm not sure. We should say it 3 times together quickly. What it is a wonderful way of saying the district commissioner. I can tell you, I'm impressed.
Hello. I'm Loji.
Richard Conniff, pleased to meet you.
Hello, I'm Sarah Seymour. Pleased to meet you.
Rob McCall.
Yeah, welcome to Wangdi.
A wonderful place to be.
Yes, yes.
This is the Zongda.
This is the Dong. Yes, I'm the Dongda.
You're Zongda. So sorry.
I believe you are in search of some Mikchum.
We're in search of the Mikchum, the Magyar.
We have a skeleton up in Muganti, so we'll show it to you tomorrow.
The governor has agreed to take the party to a distant monastery. Hidden away in the most sacred prayer room is a mini Wildman, or Mikchum.
Well, in the Chundulhagang we have a mummified body of a Mikchum, and we are very, very fortunate to go in there and film this. I don't think any Westerner has ever been allowed to go in there and examine it, forget about filming it. So this is a wonderful opportunity to show the rest of the world something special that we have here.
As a woman, Sarah cannot enter the inner sanctum.
This here is another show.
The Chundu Lakang is a place of spirits, where mummified corpses of half-familiar creatures jostle severed human limbs, overseen by protecting deities.
This is the Mikchum.
Oh, wow. Would it be okay to touch it?
Go ahead.
To do so? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digits. So that was different from our footprints, which
Absolutely, yeah.
And also much smaller. I mean, that's not much different to the size of the palm of my hand. It's so difficult to tell from a specimen like this because the skeleton isn't here any longer, so we only have the skin. Clearly there's been a lot of sewing to put this specimen together, which doesn't exactly inspire your confidence that it is in fact all one specimen.
This is definitely a Mikchum, and the people tell of the story how it was killed and brought to this place because it had been attacking certain people along a well-known path.
I think it's one of the most painful things I have ever seen. I mean, look at this face. Look at that mouth seeming to say, oh, and the eyes shutting in agony. It's like it's at the moment of death.
You say it died violently.
That looks painful.
It was chopped in half.
Oh, my God.
Most interesting.
Yeah, that it is.
What is the shrunken homunculus? Even a skeptic can spend a sleepless night wondering what on earth he has seen.
I woke up thinking about the very human anguish on the face of the Mikchum, and I wondered who really died that night. I live in New England, where holy men used to call people witches and burn them at the stake. So what would a poor village holy man have done when faced with an angry mob demanding that he kill a Mikchum? Did a local madman come to mind? A village idiot? Someone deformed? Someone who disturbed people's sense of what was normal? Someone who wouldn't be missed? It seemed to me that what had died that night was not a Mikchum, but a scapegoat. And its human face was still permanently fixed in the moment of horror and surprise.
Enough speculation. The team are now even more anxious to gather original data. They are determined to find or film the unknown bear that will nail the Migue's identity once and for all. Many accounts of the Yeti, the Migue, refer to its whistling call. Sarah, the ape specialist, is intrigued.
The Migue is said to make noises, and if these are similar, if people would recognize any of these. This is a chimpanzee, and that's a sort of annoyed one. And we'll come to a couple. Whoa! That's a surprised one. And if you see something you really want to eat, like a banana, they'll start with it.
I think I want whatever you're having.
Yeah.
The road ends here. As they head for the Yeti's heartland, the team will travel on pony or foot and live under thin canvas.
That would be where we'd be crossing over.
Okay.
Rodon lies over that mountain in the back. So we'll be camping somewhere up there, just short of that area tomorrow.
Right.
Each man carries his chosen weapon in the land of tigers, bears, and perhaps the wild man.
Rob and I have here a fairly lightweight kit because we're going ahead of everybody. We've got 4 remote triggers, and inside is a camera that switches day to night, a recorder, and the brain that makes it go into recorder. Around the lens are LEDs, so it provides its own infrared light. So hopefully we leave these with some triggers which are in here, plugged into a lead-acid battery, and walk away, and it could be left for days.
Cameraman and zoologist leave with guides to set traps on the most promising trails.
I always end up feeling rather sorry for the Migue. It always ends up dead.
Meanwhile, Sarah and Dick will question Bhutan's leading collector of Yeti stories. For 30 years, Ashi Kunzang Chodron has been writing down Migue tales passed on by word of mouth. Their aim is to find out whether what she describes is natural history or supernatural bunk.
And of course the witch comes to a horrible end too, doesn't she?
Which is normally do, don't
Yes.
I think in the West, what's happened is you have sort of delineated what is the supernatural as something that the skeptics will push away. But for us, the natural world is full of things that have not been explained. I'm sorry to say, but my world is much richer because...
I'm not sorry at all. I agree with you.
Because I believe in the supernatural and you as a skeptic.
Yes.
When I was a child, we told stories, especially when our yak herders who had been in the wilds came home. We would really, just sit and listen to them, and they could tell stories. We sort of perpetuated some kind of the oral traditions in how to save ourselves in case we meet the Migue, and like we were told that if we meet a female Migue and it chases us, we have to run downhill.
Yes.
Because she has this long sagging breast, and when she comes down, her breasts, which are kept over her shoulders, keep falling in and obstructing her. Yeah. So that delays her, and you get the headway and you run away.
Are you telling me that if a female Yeti chases me, what I need to do is run downhill?
Run downhill. That's the safest thing to do.
Thank you so much.
Go down the cliff, I think.
You really don't like skeptics, do you?
I like them. You are bearable, but if we had to stay every day together, no, I would prefer the Yeti.
Above, the electronic traps go live.
Sarah's just going on ahead to check for bears and female Yetis.
If this was Hollywood, Dick, you'd be the first to die.
I'm getting really confused with the whole story of bear species in Bhutan. How many species are there in Bhutan, do you think?
Well, there's supposed to be only 2, but...
Officially, only 2. The Padom, a low-altitude black bear, and a high-altitude brown bear. Bhutanese claim there is a third, the ladom.
If you talk about the ladom, it'll be about 7 feet, maybe taller. The padom that we have would be about a maximum of 5 feet tall.
The only way we could really try and test that would be to try and get some kind of DNA sample from the ladom and the padom. I brought some gear with me for collecting hair samples.
I hope you're successful.
In the labyrinth of woods lies the solution. Ted is keen to see the first results from the video traps. The recorder has activated.
It's rewinding for quite a long while. Maybe we have something.
Triggered twice. And there's something
There's
going on
something there, yeah.
The shadow move. So something was moving just over there. And that's us coming back.
Oh, how frustrating.
Almost.
The creature's shadow appears upright. A guide locates a possible lair.
He's found a cave, which is about the height of this stick. It's about a 20-minute walk from here.
When you go into a cave, it reminds you that bears and humans have always used the same caves for shelter. And there's this rich tradition of fear and confrontation about places like this. But in this region, the caves have also produced teeth of a primate, Gigantopithecus, which may have gone extinct as recently as 10,000 years ago. So I like to think about early humans in this neighborhood running into this large, hairy primate that was just a bit too much like us for our own comfort. The other possibility is that a creature like Gigantopithecus, or maybe even Gigantopithecus itself, is actually surviving still in this part of the world. It's not likely, but even a skeptic like me can't rule it out.
The cave is bare of clues. DNA evidence suggests a mystery bear, possibly huge.
It's always reassuring to see.
Ted and Rob are off to set fresh traps to bring back pictures and hair samples. The shadow they recorded was cast by something big. In these parts, any meeting is fraught with danger.
Thank God for multi-tools. I was never born to be a fencer, that's for sure.
Rob sets up his simple trap, a single strand of barbed wire to snag hair samples from passing animals.
I think that's going to be fine.
Next, Rob mixes the smelly bait. It's been used successfully to attract grizzlies.
Mix it in a bit. Oh, yeah. You all set, Ted?
Yep.
Camera trap sorted?
Yep.
Let's go for
it. The trap is left undisturbed. They expect definitive results. 3 days stretch out.
I don't believe it. There's definitely something had been there. There weren't any hairs, but that could be because it either stepped...
The bait has vanished. Neither camera nor wire reveal the animal. The team are baffled.
Sure, there's something had been there. Oh, that's disappointing. How about we test this system?
We're heading out to Rodong La, which is a pass about a half hour from camp. And it's one of the best sites in the country for seeing the meager. There's a story about a yak herder who saw a tiger and a meager fight to the death there. So, as a skeptic, I kind of feel as if I should spend the night in the haunted house. One of the things that Kunzang told us was that to be worthy of seeing the meager, you have to have proper, what sounds to my ear like Wang Fang, which is a field of presence, and Lung Ta, which is a field of wind. And I've got plenty of wind, but it's probably all the wrong kind. So I imagine the only reason the meager would appear here tonight would be to smite me as an unbeliever. but I'll take my chances. Right. So what are you going to be doing with this thing?
I'm going to put on an image intensifier. We're a little bit limited by the cloud cover.
Yeah.
It's really simple. You push the big red button.
I think I understand the part about pushing the red button. That's about it, Ted.
Right.
Yeah.
Ted and Dick are preparing to stake out the eerie scene of the bear's attack on the Nomad. This is prime Migure country.
It's now about 5:45. We're in the blind. And we're about to go lights off and quiet for a couple of hours of watching to see what kind of animals show up. We've been here about an hour now. The moon's getting a little bit brighter. The haze is clearing a little bit. But we haven't seen a thing. Nothing's moving. Very quiet. We'll just keep waiting for a few more hours and see what turns up. It's completely still here. I don't think I've ever been any place like this. I mean, there's no wind, there's no movement of the leaves, there's no sound except our own breathing or the rustling of fabric.
If you were a traveller and you were stuck overnight here, your imagination would go completely ballistic.
It's dawn, and our night at Rodong La has been quiet. No bears, no birds, no wind, no meager. But as the sun was coming up this morning, I saw one hill in the distance, and then another one beyond it, and then whole mountain ranges beyond that. And it occurred to me that it's kind of arrogant to think that you can conquer a place or prove anything by spending a night at some place like Rodong La.
Within days, all that will change. The night was long and frustrating for the expedition cameraman. The automatic traps Ted left on the pass capture only images of a group of nomads. The equipment is playing up. The extremes of temperature fool the thermal sensors.
It's been a really, really long period, and I'm absolutely shattered.
One of the theories is that the Migure is capable of becoming invisible at will, but I don't think that's a factor in our camera trap problems.
I mean, if we're back into wooded conditions, I'm sure it'll work.
The team decides to drop down 6,000 feet to the valley below, leaving a trail of concealed cameras. Their first priority is to minimize disturbance.
We would basically have to give them an indication once we've crossed Rodong La. So we have horses waiting for us.
So it might be an idea to send people ahead and then have the main party with all the ponies and all the supplies coming afterwards so that we don't disturb the area too much.
Right.
I have this awful feeling that we're being watched.
This actually was a part of our national east-west highway before they started building motorable roads in Bhutan. Everybody would have to cross this way.
When this was Bhutan's M4, there were many close encounters with the Migure. Now, it's virtually deserted. Lower down, abundant vegetation provides ample food for animals.
Well, Rodong La was a magical place with its head in the clouds. Even the trip down on that endless, winding, mossy stairway was like something out of a fairy tale. But the only thing that could thrive up there is myth and make-believe. Here we're back down in the world of zoological reality. We've got thick forests, we've got acorns, we've got berries. If there's an undiscovered species out there, even a Migure, it's much more likely to be down here with the leopards and the bears, where there's plenty to eat.
This is tiger scat. And the presence of tigers in a valley like this is telling us that we've got a hell of a lot of animals on which tigers can feed. And a lot of people say that the migir is also a carnivore. And so if there's food for tigers, then potentially there's food for something like the migir. That's seen the business end of a tiger. Well, and the other end of a tiger as well. It's remarkable.
Kunsain Torton told us that once we passed through Rodenlar and went into the valleys on the other side, east, that the whole area is fertile in stories of the migir. And since we've been here, only a matter of hours, we're starting to hear reports of sightings of footprints, so it's really exciting. So whilst Rob and Ted go off with their camera traps, Dick and I are going to try and find some eyewitness accounts.
After another long day's trek, Dick and Sarah are rewarded with the stroke of luck they need.
This is the sort of national day. It's the King's birthday, and so you have all these people from isolated villages throughout these valleys. They come together in one place. Good place to find people to talk to about this kind of landscape, the animals that live here, even possibly the migir.
Have you ever seen that one?
This one? That's an orangutan.
Is it here?
A chance meeting changes the course of the expedition.
He collects stools for the government.
Okay, so the government wants him to be out looking for footprints, for droppings,
yes,
for hair samples?
Yes.
How often? How long?
Sonam Dendup tells Dick that he's a long-serving Royal Yeti hunter. He's heard the migir call many times.
3 times in a year he goes out to look for it.
And how many years?
For the last 12 years, he said.
12 years, yeah.
What does it sound like?
We have a change in plan. We met a man here today named Sonam Dendup. And he has been working for the government for the last 12 years as a migir watcher.
Using understatement very strongly, this sounds like somebody we should definitely be meeting, over.
Well, the good news is that you will be meeting him. He's on his way. It's a 2-day hike from where you are now.
Well, it's the morning after our radio conversation where we found out that one of the King's Yeti hunters is going to accompany us up to the top near Rodenlar again. We've got a bit of a problem in that the horsemen down here refuse to go up to that altitude, so we potentially have a little bit of a mutiny on our hands.
He's saying he's fed up of going, you know, like up and down the mountain tops.
Instead, the migir watcher will lead them to a lair.
So to prepare for our trip up the hill, we've absolutely minimised our kit. We've still got to take the generator to charge our batteries, but everything else is absolutely reduced to the bare minimum. It's really just a last push now to get up to this location where we're assured we're actually going to find some evidence of the migir, probably droppings of some kind. We've got plenty more luggage if you want to make it heavier.
The pony men refuse to enter Yeti territory. The reason they give is the state of the path. Bhutanese believe to see the migir brings death if one is impure.
Any unclean person goes into the jungle up there. It provokes the wrath of migir, and the migir comes howling, you know, till that place, you know, like you can hear the howl of the migir.
And that's where we're heading?
Yes.
Sonam Dendup soon points out the pug mark of a big cat. They are not alone.
There's no denying that is one big tiger print. It's enormous. Only 4.
The master tracker is as familiar with animal prints as with the unmapped terrain.
We're currently working through the forest here, trying to find a clearing around a big cedar tree, which is where the migir has been seen before. It's where it's seen dung,
We just haven't been able to find the particular tree yet, so we're going to carry on looking. How anyone can find anything in this forest absolutely amazes me. I would feel so frightened if Kalma and our guide wasn't here.
Far below Rob and Ted, in another valley, Sarah meets a woman who claims she has actually lived with the Migur.
Does she know how long she was with the Migur for?
Well, she says on and off for 6 years. A lot of people came looking for her in the forest, but the Migur hid her inside the cave, so they couldn't find her.
But she doesn't know how long she was there?
In a year, she would disappear 3-4 times, and each time it'd be for a week, 10 days. They used to bring her whatever she wanted.
Did she speak with it? How did she communicate with it then?
She speaks this language, a remote dialect, which this girl understands. But every now and then she starts speaking something that even they can't understand.
Oh, really?
So maybe that's what she used to speak to the Migur.
Can you see if she recognizes anything with these?
The villagers say she isn't capable of fending for herself, but she returns each time perfectly okay.
Saying none of this is much bigger than this. She says she slept in a cave with this creature. Saying like she wouldn't mind going back, but the people here would, again go and look for her, and they won't let her go. So.
The expedition takes on a sudden urgency. The first snows threaten to cut the passes.
Could we go into the forest in this kind of mist?
I asked our guide, Mr. Sonaman, he's saying the visibility is very, very poor.
Right.
Inside would be very poor.
Right.
So he's saying until, if it clears up, we won't be able to,
Okay.
He's saying let's not make any move, into the forest.
Yeah. Does he think it will clear?
The weather looks like it will not clear. That's what our guide Sonam says.
We've got one more day after this, where I guess we could head up there and try and do as much as possible. But we're running out of time now, and we really didn't need the weather to break like this.
8,000 feet down, for Dick and Sarah, the walk is over.
I feel a sort of sense of regret at having left, actually. A bit jealous of the boys still being up there, but not envious of having to reclimb that elevation, same as Roden last, so I hope they're all right.
I don't feel quite as good coming up this time as I did last. My guts aren't feeling too good right now.
So that's 2.5 weeks of trekking taking their toll.
Yeah, you're doing all right though, Ted.
You know what I want? There's a pint of cold Guinness, and you remember the film Ice Cold in Alex?
I do.
And you run your finger down the outside. That's what I want.
We've been to some pretty wild places on this trek, but this place feels absolutely untouched by human.
Along an animal track, the Migur hunter discovers a fresh print.
That's absolutely perfect, Kalma. It's quite short, with a narrow heel here. You can begin to see some of the toe pads. There's no sign of claws in there.
Footprint, I think this morning is about only 2 hours, 2-3 hours before our coming here. To be exact.
It looks so similar to some of the casts which we saw in Timpu of the Migur. And look at this one. Now, if that doesn't look similar to that, very similar. So the big toe here, seeming to correspond really nicely to the toe here. It's exactly the same. Around about 7.5 inches.
Ted trains his lens on the area.
very little on here by the looks of it. Oh, I've got an animal. I've got a squirrel.
Fantastic.
That can't be the only thing I've got, surely. So far I've managed to get domestic cattle, horses, people and a squirrel. And I wanted things with teeth.
Knowing they have only a few hours left, they press on, searching for the big cedar tree under which the maguire has a lair. Finally, it looms out of the mist. The tracker is adamant this is the den of a maguire, not a bear.
So I'm saying that he's found the body, you know, impressions on the...
Right. Do you think we can find any evidence of it here now? The tree cavity, it definitely looks like there's been something in here.
Oh, yeah.
It really does. There's definitely scratch marks on here, like claws. I'd say they were more like claw marks rather than nail marks. It maybe doesn't have nails like our hands, primate hands. Our guide, he knows the woods and he knows the animals here so well. He was so excellent at spotting the tiger and bear marks which we've already seen. It's kind of confusing. I don't understand why he would think that this wasn't a bear. You know, I believe he understands animals so well. I'm trusting him that if he's spotting something different here, then he really is spotting something different. This isn't a bear, but everything else suggests that it is. Hey. We've got a hare with a follicle. Nice. Long black hair. This is great, Ted, because we're here at the tree which everyone says is the most positive place where the maguire has been traced. And now we have a hare from that tree. We couldn't find the dung which we were hoping to find, that's gone, but we've got a hare, and that hare should contain DNA. So that will settle once and for all what has been living in this tree. It's brilliant. Mission accomplished.
The expedition can now hand over their precious samples to Professor Sykes.
What I got from you was hair, but the good news is that it had roots, had hair follicles on, and that's where all the DNA is. Now, because we were sort of half expecting a bear, because of the analysis of the skin sample, we went directly and asked the reaction to look specifically for bear DNA. But there wasn't any there. It's certainly mysterious. It's certainly mysterious. There was a nice plump follicle there where you normally wouldn't have any difficulty at all. It had all the hallmarks of good material. And some of the other hair brought back from the same region, we had no difficulty in proving what it was. Wild pig and so on.
The hair sample has been tested against human, bear and primate DNA. But so far, Professor Sykes can't match it with any known species.
We have found some DNA in it, but we don't know what it is. It's behaving most peculiarly. It's not a human, it's not a bear, nor anything else that we've so far been able to identify. A mystery. And I didn't think this would end in a mystery. We've never encountered any DNA that we couldn't recognize before. But then we weren't looking for the Yeti.
The Bhutanese are not particularly bothered to prove the existence. They know it's already there. They know that there's something there. And there's no desire, there's no craving to prove to the world that, yes, we have a maguire in Bhutan. It's there. Let it be there.